you've been following along, you know a lot about my paranormal history, okay? Just follow along. I'm not going to go into that story. You can go look on my page and find the story time about that. In this video, though, I'm going to tell you about something that happened to me a few weeks ago. I had to come outside to tell you about it because I don't want to talk about it in the house. Okay, so a few weeks ago, I'm home by myself. My husband was at work, and I remember checking the time to like see when he was going to be home because I had to leave for work as well. And it was 9:30 p.m., right? Mind you, nobody else was home except me and my dog. My daughter was away. So the house was like eerily quiet, like kind of like a heavy kind of quiet, you know what I mean? Like weird feeling in the air. And that's not completely unusual for me because, like I said, I've been followed by something forever. There's always a weird energy around me. So whatever, I'm waiting for my husband to come home and I'm like cleaning up the kitchen a little bit, and all of a sudden I start to feel like I'm being watched from behind me. But I thought he was out on the porch, and I was like, okay, well maybe he's just like out there smoking a cigarette or something like that. Like that was my first immediate thought. Like he's home but he's outside. That's why I'm feeling like somebody's around. When I turned around to like check, nobody was out there. The light wasn't on. There was no person out there at all. So I just brushed it off and I continued to clean and wait for him to come home. But as I'm cleaning, I start to hear something from upstairs. I hear, "Babe," being called from the upstairs bedroom. Clear as day. It's my husband's voice. Literally, mind you, my house is set up like the kitchen is like over here. There's a hallway and you can see directly down the hallway to the front door. There is no way he could have slipped past me. It wasn't like a loud or panicked babe. It was just like a normal, like, trying to get my attention, like, come upstairs, come be with me or something like that. It was literally so normal. It was like he just got home and was calling for me to go upstairs. And I didn't know what to think. I was being irrational, I think, because I'm like, maybe he did slip past me somehow. So I answered back and I'm like, yeah? I got no response, which I knew was weird. So I started to feel really, really fucking weird. I know you'd think after years of dealing with something like this, like I wouldn't get scared or confused or anything like that, but I was literally scared and fucking confused. Like I literally didn't hear the door open. I didn't hear keys jingle. I didn't hear his door shut from when he got home. So I decided to go upstairs and investigate because I'm like, there better not be like an intruder in this house or something like that. Like I just got here. I don't want this in my new house. So I started making my way upstairs to the bedroom. But the energy as I'm walking up the stairs is like, I felt like I was walking through like an old TV set, you know what I mean? Like the static, like the heaviness of, I don't know how to explain it other than like the static TV feeling of like that fucking you know what I'm talking about? The VCR TVs, whatever the hell they're called. But it almost felt like some kind of fucking vortex that I was walking into. So I get all the way up the stairs and I'm standing outside of my bedroom door, like just feeling this feeling. My hand is like just about to open the door when I hear, "Babe," come from inside the bedroom. And yeah, it sounded like my husband, but like it was a little bit off. It was a little bit weird, like almost a little bit uncanny valley. And I was like, oh fuck no. I whipped my hand back away from the doorknob and I'm like backing away from the door, about to go back down the stairs when I started to hear walking in the bedroom. So I fucking booked it. I booked it outside. And then yeah, I waited on the porch in the cold for my husband to get back home because I made him sweep the entire house when he got home. I was like, you better go make sure nobody's in this damn house because I told him everything that happened. But yeah. I hate it. I hate everything about it. And like, I don't know what to do about it either. I've tried so many things. If you have any options, if you have any solutions for me to get rid of this freaking thing, please let me know in the comment section.
Word to the wise. If you thinking about letting a friend move in with you, don't. Story time. Y'all already know what time it is. Did y'all miss me or what? I missed you too. Now let's just hop straight into the story, okay? Now just for a little bit of context, I gotta give y'all just a little bit of history about me before getting into the actual reading so it makes sense. So I bought my house when I was 21. I'm now 26. When I bought my house, it was 2020, end of September. At the time, I was dealing with this dude, and of course, I didn't know, but I was in for a hell of a fucking ride. That being said, I know the ins and outs of a very toxic domestic violence type of situation, relationship, right? Very experienced with it. I dated him on and off for about 5 years. Now, at the time, it was just the beginning. So I had no idea what I was in for real. All of that being said, let's get into the story. For the sake of the story, we're going to call her Tiffany. Now, I met Tiffany around 2020. Tiffany is an esthetician. Now, one thing about it, I'm going to support a black business down. And then you a woman too? Yeah, so don't even worry about it. I'm there. On top of that, Tiffany came in clutch. Nobody else was open at the time. I was going to this chain wax place called, like, I think it's like Andrea or Wax by Andrea, something like that. So to go from a chain place to an individual person, and then she charging really good prices. Yeah, and she was having my shit. Like, when I first went to her from them, I had like little ingrown hairs, discoloration, and to be completely honest, she got me the fuck together. Smooth baby bottom, no more discoloration, all of that. I was fucking with Tiffany, period. Kept the punani cute. Now, being that me and her started off as esty besties or whatever, we ended up developing a friendship, you know? Now, Tiffany didn't know me like that, and I didn't know Tiffany like that. But naturally, you know, somebody all in your no square, you're gonna start talking about stuff. I mean, you already in my business. I might as well give you a little bit of insight, you know. So, you know, years go by, and now me and Tiffany have been friends for 5 years. Now, Tiffany was always really confused. She loved me. She loved my vibe. I was always very blunt. You know, she was also one of those type of people that was like a rooter. Like, she was always going to be rooting for you, regardless of what you were doing. Also, when I met Tiffany, I was in my dance bag heavy. I'm not going to call it no midnight ballerina, bitch. I was a stripper. Yes. Because I'm tired of y'all sugarcoating shit. So one thing Tiffany would notice is that I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't hang around a lot of people. And the friends that I did have, I was very protective of them because at the time I thought they were my friends. But as the story go, you know, them hoes really wasn't my friends. And Tiffany would start to see that. And obviously she only had my side of the story to go off of. But I feel like she put 2 and 2 together. She liked my vibe. She started to get to know me. So I feel like she started to see certain things, put 2 and 2 together, and was like, yeah, you're not tripping, you know. Needless to say, Tiffany was there for a good chunk of friends, you know, exiting out my motherfucking life. And it was actually an incident with her and a friend of mine. We went to this spa that she invited us to, and everything was really cool, good vibes. My friend at the time, well, the bitch ain't my friend, but she was at the time. She was an Aries. Tiffany is a Cancer. I'm a Virgo. So they kind of butted heads a little bit. And at the time, Tiffany had said something to the friend that I was not fucking with. Because one thing about it, you have certain friends for certain things. And that bitch, I already was feeling like I couldn't tell her my business. So clearly, even though me and the other girl had been friends longer, I trusted Tiffany a lot more. Now, being that was our first incident, I'm not gonna lie, I just slick cut her ass off. I didn't even tell her that I was irritated with her. Yeah, I was pissed, because bitch, you got me fucked up. Just because I tell you something don't mean that you just open your mouth and say something to somebody else. Now, granted, this was her first incident with me. She didn't even know I was mad. She just so happened to call me, y'all, asking about her engagement ring. And I'm like, you called me about a ring? And she's like, oh my God, what's going on? Now, she is older than me, right? By like maybe 7 or 8 years. So when I told her the issue and what had happened and how I felt, it was literally like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She took accountability. You know, I hate that I made you feel that way. I'm calling you about a ring. I don't even know there's anything going on. And I love that response, right? Because I'm used to bitches trying to try me like I'm tripping. And, you know, to have somebody to take accountability, look in the mirror, apologize, even if she may not have felt like she was wrong in the situation, that was a breath of fresh air to me. So not only did that solidify our friendship and make it a stronger bond, but bitch, at that point, I'm like, yeah, okay, me and Tiffany, like, we may actually have something real going on here. After that, me and Tiffany never really had any, you know, words or nothing like that ever happened again, right? So boom. I'm fast forwarding. Years have gone by. Now I'm no longer fucking with that other friend. Tiffany is now fully aware of who I am as a person. She knows my heart. She knows that I read cards. I'm psychic and all of these things, right? We've gotten to know each other. Now, going back a little bit. When I met Tiffany, she was living with her boyfriend. At the time, he was not her fiance yet. But I got to know him. I got to know her. And, you know, they started inviting me places. We go to KOD together. I actually just threw away the picture that we had. I had a picture in my house of me and Tiffany at KOD. You know, it was fun vibes. Like, I never had to worry about Tiffany. So, you know, we moved further along. Her then boyfriend asked her to marry him. And bitch, we're there for that because there is not enough of that going on. So, of course, I was over the moon for her, period. everything starts to kind of take a turn though, right? Now, a lot of things are happening in Tiffany's relationship that I'm not very much privy to, but Tiffany at this point knows that I'm with this guy. Things have been physical. It's a toxic situation. He was fucking around with his baby mama. It was a lot going on. So eventually, you know, Tiffany starts to open up about her and her boyfriend or her fiance at the time. We're just gonna call him Rodney. Now, I loved Rodney and Tiffany's relationship because they had been together like 10 plus years. But again, I wasn't privy to everything. So once shit starts hitting the fan, they're getting ready to get married. They both go on their own individual bachelor and bachelorette parties. They had been arguing for a while because Rodney told Tiffany he was going to Colombia. And if you know anything about anything, you know what be going down in Colombia. Okay? They be giving it out. Don't know what they doing. They're just giving it out. And he was ready to purchase. Now, y'all know how man is. You know, she's basically accusing him like, I know what you going down there for. Oh, and he's telling her, you tripping, this, that, and the third. It even got to the point where he got in her face, headbutts her, calls her a bitch. You know what I mean? And he's really going big for somebody who's not going to go out there and do anything nuts, you know. Because if you know what I mean? Like, if you're not going to go do nothing out there, why are you getting so disrespectful? So now I'm privy to the situation. This is like 3 years into our friendship at this point, right? I'm privy to the situation. I don't fucking like Rodney at this point. But I have to play my cards right because until my girl Tiffany leave this nigga, it's not much I can really do. I can't say that I don't like him, create a wedge between me and Tiffany because he's not going to want her to hang out with me. Now, to be completely honest, he's a Leo. So he always was worried about people's opinion and how he showed up to people. He didn't give a fuck about who he truly was. He just didn't want nobody else to know. So boom, he goes to Colombia, comes back. This stupid motherfucker, he has a camera, not his phone, y'all, a camera. Tiffany, long story short, finds a video of him and some Colombian chick, and y'all already know what's going on. This fool done recorded it. Why? So boom, their relationship is starting to get very, very physical. Mentally, physically, emotionally, verbally. It's just starting to get crazy. Now, I told Tiffany because she's seen me go through my stuff, right? I got pregnant. I had a miscarriage. There was a lot going on in that relationship with me. So she felt comfortable coming to me, telling me what was going on with her. So I told Tiffany, like, you know, if anything ever happened, because it was starting to get scary. It was starting to get to a point where, you know, I'm trying to pull up on her because I feel like he's getting ready to do something to her. I'm like, you could just come live with me. I don't do that. I don't care if you my cousin, okay? I just don't like people living with me, especially if they're in situations like that, because I know how it is when you're not ready to leave. And you're not going to put my motherfucking life in danger because you want to play, okay? But if y'all want to hear the rest of this story, tap in and come back for part 2. Comment down below. Stop everything crazy and trouble. She about ready to beat my ass, so I'm back with that part 2. Alright, y'all, we're gonna have to go back a little bit because I skipped certain parts because I thought I was gonna be able to keep everything in part 1, but it wouldn't be me if I didn't do a part 2, so fuck it. We're kind of gonna go back a little bit, right? This is like the first year, maybe a year and a half into us being friends / me being her client, Esty Bestie, you know the drill. She asked me to be a brand ambassador for her business, in which I replied yes. I had the following, I had the backing, I had the personality. On top of that, I was doing music videos, club hostings. I was just really in my bag, so why not? And of course, it was not abnormal for people to ask me to be the brand ambassador because of everything that I already talked about. This was just a little bit different. She didn't give me any contract. We was just basically going off face card and the fact that we were building this new relationship. And on top of that, I was always posting her prior to, because that's just what I do. If you give me a good experience, I'm going to give you a review and I'm going to be honest about it. You know what I mean? So it was nothing. Now, her proposition was, again, a little different from the real brand ambassador gigs that I was getting, because usually, especially around that time, I was doing a lot of wig things, so people would send me free products to promote. Hers was a little different, right? She wanted me to promote her business, and she would give me mostly like a discounted, prorated type of service, or the amount that I would be paying. So she would charge me $50 and I would basically be doing her brand ambassador stuff. Now, again, there was no contract in place. But me being a real bitch, I'm going to do what the fuck I'm supposed to do regardless. You don't have to tell me. Now, she also started doing creative stuff. Now, this is kind of fast forwarding, right? She started doing creative stuff with her business. She's making rap songs. She made a song out of one of Glorilla's songs, basically promoting her business. I couldn't be there for the music video, but I was there for her to record. And my voice is even in the song on the call, like, hey Tiffany, I need a wax right now, book me. You know what I mean? Like, really doing my shit. Mind you, I never asked her to be her brand ambassador. I never asked her for free shit. I never asked her for any discounts. I never asked her for shit. Okay? Notable mention, when I went to her prices were already in that $50-$60 range. So it's not even to say that she was giving me a true discount. It's more so like when she did up her prices, my price point stayed the same. So keep that in mind. Now we're going to fast forward. When Tiffany originally moved in my house, I'm very thorough. Bitch, I had a whole contract, a whole contract, bitch, about my house and about living in my house, which obviously consisted of, you know, rent, when rent was due, how late it could be, if it was going to be late, the time frame. I even gave her until September. So technically, she would have been in my house from late February, March into September if she would have stayed that long. Now, I didn't have a lot of rules, but one thing about it, me being a psychic, me being extremely empathic, and just me being private, people can't come to my motherfucking house. I don't even really have company at my motherfucking house. I have to know you. We have to have that bond. You know what I mean? And that's not too much of an ask, right? But the more we go along with stuff, I'm starting to peep certain things that, okay, I need to also tell her I don't like this. Now, don't get me wrong. Tiffany, I would get off work. She done cooked, cleaned up. You know, she was actually a really good guest. Outside of just little things that I'm about to get into, right? So it was like, okay, this is really fun. You know, I get off work, we can talk, we can chop it up. It seemed like, you know, and I don't have no sisters. I was starting to enjoy it. Now, it was certain things that I would start to notice. Like, when I wake up in the morning, I don't want to smell weed. It don't make me feel good. It actually makes me feel nauseous. And honestly, as a girl, why the fuck are you smoking at 8 o'clock in the motherfucking morning? That's a boy thing. That's what niggas do. And any nigga in my house or any man around me, period, that's not even gonna fly, period. So it was like one of those things where I wouldn't know that it would bother me until it happened. So obviously I'm not going to put that in the rental agreement. But I did shoot her a little text like, hey, you know, I don't like the smell of weed in the morning. I'm getting ready to go to work type thing. I don't want to smell like weed. And it was nothing. Like, she apologized, basically said that, you know, she picked up that habit from her ex, this, that, and the third, the fiance. And so it was like, okay, you know, I get it. You're unlearning the toxic. And then one day I rolled me up like a little spliff. And I do this thing where I'll hit it and then, you know, in the morning, leave it there for when I get off work. And I know for a fact, it was probably about maybe like this big, okay? But to my, you know, 420 people, you get off work, you looking forward to that, period. I strategically put it in a space in my room right by my TV. So it's not like I was hiding it, because at this point I wasn't closing my doors. I wasn't locking my doors, because at the end of the day it's just us two in this bitch. So if anything go missing, I know I ain't do it. You know what I mean? I get off work, I come home, and it's not there. And I'm looking for this shit, because before I ask somebody or even accuse somebody of doing something, I'm very thorough. I'm a thorough ass bitch. I'm gonna look for that shit. I'm gonna make sure I'm not tripping. I'm gonna even evaluate, did I smoke the whole thing? But I know I'm not tripping. So I shoot her a text like, hey, did you so happen to smoke my clip? She hits me back like, no, what's going on? And I'm like, I can't find it. So boom, she ends up calling me like maybe 5 minutes later. Like, hey, what's the problem? What's going on? I'm like, I left a clip here. It's not here. I'm just trying to see if you smoked it. If you did, just let me know, because if so, please don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, if you gonna do it, replace it. You know what I'm saying? And so she assured me that she didn't do it. I have no proof. I know what the fuck I know. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Just gonna roll up another blunt. Now, this is kind of what confirmed my suspicions that she actually did smoke it. Later on that night, when she finally got back home, she was like, oh, I'm gonna call the weed man, this, that, and the third. I'm gonna get you like a little 3, 5, or a 7. And I was like, okay, you know, but I'm thinking like she's gonna get some weed for herself and then roll up and we just gonna hit it. No, when she got the weed, she gave it to me and I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, she was like, no, that's yours, that's yours. I was like, well, how much is it? She was like, you don't gotta worry about that. So I was like, okay, but you know what you know. So I'm thinking like, okay, but bygones be bygones. It's not that big of a deal. It is what it is. Also, keep in mind, when she moved into my house, I had literally just made my TikTok. Y'all, my TikTok is not even a year old yet. It'll be a year old in March. And when I made my TikTok, I was talking all about, you know, women and how we should be utilizing these men in the best way that we can, especially if you look good, you got everything going for yourself. Don't let these men take care of you. You don't take care of a man. And I'm basically giving women advice about how to get theirs and not waste their time. Now, I'm not sure if some of the things that I was saying was hitting her or making her feel some type of way, but it definitely, that was not the intention, because again, I was in a relationship where I allowed a man to take me off focus and he wasn't doing shit from doo-doo to help me, you know what I mean? So it's one of those empowering things, stripper mindset, you know, type thing like that, and also being independent and taking care of myself. I'm giving this advice to anybody who's gonna catch it. Now, I also started noticing like her being sneaky or lying. I don't know who the fuck y'all think y'all is, but you can't really have a lot of privacy when you live with somebody, no matter how much you try to keep things secret, you know? And also, I truly don't give a fuck. But when it come down to my house, my space, my sanctuary, I'm always gonna give a fuck. So one day she told me that this dude was gonna get her a rental or give her one of his cars. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I just so happened to be kind of coming in and out the house when she pulls up. Why this bitch park all the way down the street? Not too far, but not in the spot right in front of my house where she could have parked. And I'm just so happen to come outside and I see the car and I'm like, I thought you said you was getting a rental. She was like, oh, you know, Rodney, he's out of town. And Rodney did buy her the car. And Rodney is the type of nigga, if I feed you, I'm going to starve you. So everything he ever bought her, phone, car, anything, that was his until she was his again. So I'm like, I thought you was going to get another car. Oh, he's out of town. My mom talked to him and I was able to get the car. Bitch, that's a red flag. Because let me tell you something about my motherfucking safety. It's not even about you or me wanting to know your motherfucking business. I had to do it part 3. Oh my God. Comment for part 3.
Story time about my old roommate who sold his soul to the devil and told me he did. Forewarning, don't watch this video at night. It's been 10 years since I met this person and it still freaks me out to think about. But I figure with it being spooky month, October, I'll share this story. People close to me know about it, but I've never like publicly put it on the internet before. That said, this experience definitely made me feel like people can and do sell their souls. And it's one of the reasons I believe in God and light work and positive things and operate from that perspective with everything that I do and talk about. Okay, so I met him, we're gonna call him Dominic for the sake of the story. I met him 10 years ago. I was at a casting call for an MTV reality show in Chicago where I was living at the time. And at this casting call, there were a ton of people. So they separated us into groups of 20 and they brought us around this big table and they were asking us individual questions about our personality, our perspectives, things like that. There was one guy sitting across from me at the table and I noticed that he was like noticing me every time I talked. He would kind of nod. And then I noticed that every time he talked, I kind of felt myself agreeing with the things that he was saying. So we kind of became like allies around this big group of tables. And at the end of this big group interview, the casting director called this guy, Dominic, me, and then another girl from our group into another room. And he was like, we loved your personalities. We think you guys might be a good fit for the show. We want to keep this interview going. So you're going to just have to wait here and then we're going to do some one-on-one interviews. So it's the 3 of us in this room and the guy leaves. And while we're waiting for our one-on-one interviews, Dominic and I start talking more. And I realize that we actually do have a lot in common and we have a lot of the same stances on things, namely spirituality. And we ended up having this really deep conversation about like the nature of reality and spirituality and things like that. It was a really crazy conversation to have the first time that you meet somebody. I feel like we really just like connected on like a super deep level. Like it wasn't just like, how are you? Oh yeah, the weather, blah, blah, blah. Like it was a different kind of conversation, but it was a positive one, or so I thought. So this goes on for like an hour and then finally they call Dominic into the room. He does his one-on-one interview. He leaves. We don't talk again that day. And we hadn't exchanged information or anything like that. So I'm just like, wow, what a crazy conversation. What a crazy first meeting of someone. And we leave. A few weeks go by and I went to a music video shoot It was a hip hop artist. I was there with my friend, and we were getting our makeup done when a guy walked in the room, another actor in the video. And when he walked in, I thought that he looked familiar, and then I realized it was Dominic from this other casting call. And like, I got excited to see him. Like, it wasn't like a romantic kind of interest that I had in him. Like, he was very attractive, but it was more just that connection that I felt like we had as like a friendship or whatever. But I saw him and I was like, oh my God, hey, like we met at this MTV casting interview. And he was also like immediately excited to see me. It seemed like, he was like, oh my God, like I can't believe you're here. Like it seemed like fate. So as the music video shoot goes on, like he and I are just like instant besties. Like we're having these crazy conversations, like in between takes, we're out in the parking lot, like talking. And that day we did exchange information. So it was like phone numbers and emails. And he lived pretty far from me. He didn't live in the actual city. He lived like 2 hours away. So he wasn't around much, but we texted and we emailed a lot. We emailed because we were having such deep and long conversations that texting didn't really do it justice. Like we would send each other basically letters. And this texting email relationship kind of went on for like 2 years. We did hang out a couple times when he was in the city. We would get coffee, and there was nothing weird that ever happened in this time frame. I just considered him like a really good friend. Neither of us ended up getting that MTV show, but he did have some successes when it came to other acting pursuits. And I think it's interesting to note at this point that at the time both of us were pursuing some kind of acting career path, right? I was just more doing it for fun and because I could and because it came easy. But I do think it's interesting to note that we always hear about people in Hollywood that are like selling their souls in order for fame and money and success and all those things. And I just think it's weird that like this is what we were pursuing when I met this person. Okay, so again, no red flags at this point, like just a deep friendship. 2 years after I meet him, I decided I was going to move to Nashville. I moved here with a friend of mine from Chicago. I wasn't really doing music videos or anything anymore. I actually moved here and I started working at a nonprofit doing an AmeriCorps program in environmental sustainability. And Dominic and I kept in touch when I lived here, but we didn't talk nearly as much as we used to. So the first year of me living in Nashville goes by, and my roommate who I moved here with decided that she was going to move out and get her own place. Like, fine, no big deal. So I needed to find a roommate. And I hadn't mentioned it really to anyone yet besides our immediate friend group in Nashville that I was looking. And out of the blue, about a week after she tells me that she's going to move out of our house that we were renting, I get an email from Dominic, and he was just like, hey, how are you? Like, checking in. I hope Nashville's going well. I was just letting you know I've actually been thinking about moving there. I think I'm going to. And I was like immediately excited because again, it seemed like fate. I'm just like, wow, like here's my roommate. So I fire back. I'm like, this is crazy. I think you should move. I have actually a room opening up. If you want to just like move in here, you can come check it out if you want. He's like, I mean, that would be great. Like, when do you need a roommate? I'm like, at the end of the month. And he was like, I can probably move in next month. Like, let's do it. I'm like, this is awesome. So my roommate moves out and I get the room cleaned up and Dominic moves in. And everything was fine for like maybe 3 months. He got a job right away. He was clean. He was a good roommate, like respectful. And again, this was like a completely platonic relationship. So I really enjoyed his company. Like I would come home from work and he would be home and we would just like have these sometimes really deep conversations, sometimes really light conversations, but again, pretty normal for a roommate situation. And then on month 3 of him living there, things started getting really weird, really dark, and really creepy really fast. There was one night when it was probably around this time of year, like October, and we had both worked that day. He was in the living room watching TV, and I was in the kitchen, like making something to eat, like I think like a stew or a chili or something, but I remember I had like a big stock pot on the stove, and I was like drinking wine, just kind of like in my element, and I felt like somebody, watching me. So I turn around, and Dominic is standing in the doorway of the kitchen, and I was just like, oh, hey, this food will be ready, like soon, like you can have some. And he just looks me dead in the eye, and he goes, I sold my soul to the devil. And I kind of like laughed because I like, that's what an out of pocket thing for somebody to say, right? So I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I sold my soul to the devil. I'm not joking. And like, it really just creeped me out. It rubbed me the wrong way. I like felt myself get chills. I felt my like hands tighten around the pot I was holding. But obviously, like, what would you say in that situation? Like somebody that you've known for a few years tells you this, like, so I just thought it was a joke. And I was like, well, what'd you get? Like eternal youth, love, success, like what? And he does not smile at all. Like he's still just like staring a hole through me. He was like, no, none of that, something better. But I can't tell you what it is because it negates the terms of the deal. But it was worth it at the time. And I was like, okay, Dominic, like whatever. And he's like, yeah, I just thought you should know since we're like living together, the devil never just wants one soul. And he literally does this creepy smile, like it's burned into my memory. Like, I wish I could unremember this. He smiles this weird, creepy, toothy smile, and then he just turns around and goes in the living room and like resumes watching TV. So I'm like, what the fuck? So I like stop what I'm doing and I start texting my friend. I'm like, hey, I want to get out of my house. Like, can you meet me? And she's like, yeah, let's just go to like this place down the street. Like, I'll meet you. I'm like, cool. I have this wild thing to tell you. And she had met Dominic, so like she knew that he was like kind of like eclectic, but like I was just like, I need somebody else's opinion on this. So I go to meet her. We stay out for a few hours. It was mostly just because I didn't want to be around him. Like, I didn't know what to say after somebody tells you this, you know? And when I came home that night, he was like asleep in his room, like everything was fine. So I just like went to bed, just pretended like it was a joke, ignored it. That's what my friend had convinced me, basically, that he was just playing like a weird joke. So I was like, okay. So I go to sleep. The next day happens, nothing weird. He doesn't acknowledge it. I don't acknowledge it. Like, everything's seemingly normal. And then the scratching started. So about a week later, I was laying in my bed. I have a cat. It was dark, okay? The cat is in bed with me. And I hear this like scratching, like on the walls. Like, I don't know if you can hear that, but that's what it sounded like. It sounded like there was an animal in the walls. We were renting an older house, so it wasn't that weird for me to think like a raccoon got in the attic or like there were maybe mice or something. Like, I don't know. So my cat noticed it too, and he was like staring dead at my closet. So I get up out of bed, I turn on the light, like I go to my closet and I'm listening, and I hear the scratching again. I look in my closet, can't figure it out, but I notice it's coming from like the back corner, like the back wall of the closet, which the other side of that was the living room. So I just like bang on the wall and the scratching stops. And I go back and I lay down, and then it starts again. And so I'm like, what is going on? I wasn't really that freaked out. Again, I thought it was an animal. So I get up out of bed, I turn on the lights again, and I go out into the living room, and it's dark, but I see a figure crouched down against the living room wall, like by the bottom of the wall. And I realize it's Dominic, and he's crouched down and he's scratching the wall outside of my closet. So I'm like annoyed at this point. Like, I flip on the lights. I'm like, what are you doing? And he like does this weird creepy smile again. And he's like, I just wanted to prepare you because sometimes he likes to check in. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, this time it was me, but next time it might not be. So just like be prepared. And then he goes, okay, good night. And he walks back into his room and closes the door. I'm gonna have to make part 2. I'm so sorry, but I promise you this story gets even effing creepier.
সোনিয়া, অ্যাঞ্জেল সোনিয়া।
তুমি কি শুরু করছো?
আরে আমি করলামটা কি? আমি যেখানে বয়ে আছি। এই আমার ফোন দাও, দাও কইতাছি।
ছাড়ুম না।
কি দাও? ছাড় কইতাছি, আমার ফোন দিব না আমি।
এইটা আমগো খানদানি রীতি, তুই বুঝছ না?
আব্বা গতকালকে রাত্রে বেলা এমন সেটিং দিছি।
আব্বা ফোন দিয়ে কি করেন আপনি?
এই কথা কই, গান শুনি, এই আর কি।
বাস এই দুইটা কামের জন্য।
হায় হায়, করছে কি আমার খানদানির ইজ্জতের ফালুদা খেয়ালাইছে।
তোবা তোবা, কোস কি এত বড় বদ জামাই?
হারামজাদা আমার মা।
শাহজাহানের সাজের বাগান হুয়ে গেছে গা।
শাহজাহান হুনো না।
কও
বুঝার পারলাম না। বাড়ি মারলা আমারে, কান্দলা আমি কাঁদুম, তুমি কাঁদতাছো কেলা?
তারপর আর কি? সারা রাত কই আসলো, কি করছে আমি জানি না। আমার লাগে কেউ।
আপনি তো আপনার শ্বশুর বাড়িতে গিয়া ঠিকই হ্যাঁ নিয়ম কানুন অক্ষরে অক্ষরে পালন করছেন, আর আমারতে আয়া মিছা গপ।
তুমি কি কইবার লাগছো এগুলা? তোমার কি মাথা আউট হয়ে গেছে নি? এত বড় স্পর্ধা আমারে আদেশ। আর আমি যে তোর রুমে আইছি, রাইতে ঘুমাইছি, ফাইনাল ডিসিশন লয়ে লইছি, আজকে রাতে কিন্তু আপনার লগেই ঘুমাবো।
আমার লগে কেন বাজান? আপনি আমার লগে ঘুমাইবেন কেন?
জিন্দেগি তুই এইটা আর পোষাইতে পারবি না বাজার। তোর আমি সাবিয়া দিতাছি তুই জলদি।
ক্যাচে লাগাইছে।
মা তুই এক কাম কর, জামাই লইয়া শ্বশুর বাড়ি জাগা। হন মা, শ্বশুর
এই তো একেবারে বাঘের বাচ্চা।
ফুদি দে।
আচ্ছা বাঘের মতন যাবি?
আমি কইতাছি ওখানে খুইলা আসো না, আমি টাইনা ছিড়া ফেলামু কইলাম।
আমার খানদানি পোশাক তুমি টাইনা ছিঁড়া ফেলাইবা?
আমার ফোন দাও।
নিবারা আমারে কইছো বন্ধুর লগে কথা কও, তুমি তো এঞ্জেল সোনিয়ার লগে কথা কও কি?
তারপর বউরে দিয়ে হাত পাটি পাইছে, এর বাদে বউরে কইছে পানি লয়ে আহো, বউ পানি লয়ে আইছে, এই পানি দিচ্ছে ফালায়া।
আম্মা, আব্বা, রুটি সুরত দেখছেন? রুটি এরকম তেরে বাগা খেলা, হ্যাঁ? রুটি হবো সুন্দর। আব্বা আমারে না হয় তুমি বুঝাইলা, তুমি তোমার খানদানের কি বুঝাইবা, আমার আত্মীয় স্বজনের কি বুঝাইবা?
আমি দুঃখিত।
বইয়ের হাতে মার খাওয়া চলে, তাই কিছু কই নাই কা।
আমাগোর খানদানে জামাই মারনের নিয়ম নাই কা।
তুই আমার এখান থেকে যাবি না মানে কি? অক্ষণ তুই বেরোবি।
আব্বা
কুইলজা কাঁপে না?
ওই বেটা ওই তোর কইলজা কাঁপে না মিছা কথা কইতে? হ্যাঁ হারাম খোর জানি কোনখানকার।
মাগার মারামারিতে 1 নম্বর।
আমি পারি। এখন মনটা চাইতেছে তোমার কান্দের উপর চড়ায় একটা আসান মারি।
ঠিক আছে ভাই, তাহলে আমার মুখ চুপ বন্ধ থাকবো, আর কেউ আমি কিছু কমু না, মুখে কষ্ট।
এখন লাইনে আইছস।
তুমি বাসে আসার পর থেকে আমাকে বাসে শান্তি সব চলে লাগেছে।
আয় হায়, খাইছে কুচোটা কি তুমি?
তুমি একটা ভিডিও কল করে পাঠাও প্লিজ, প্লিজ। কবে আমগো দেখা
কোচিনটা কি এটা আব্বার লগে? এমন চিপা মাইটা দিয়েছেন? কেমন খানদান বউ? তারপর তো ভয় কাঁচে মুচু খায়া গেছে গা, তারপর আবার দুর্নাম করতে হইব।
এই তোর কি তোর দামি ফোন?
আইসে বাজান, রাইতে ঠিকঠাক মতো ঘুমাইছে তো নাকি বাসায় গিয়া বাজান রে কইবেন?
কি করছো যেটা তুই? বাজার রে বাজার যাও চুইছে আজকাই করছে।
সম্মান সব পঞ্চার করে দিছে।
মাগার দোষ আমারও আছে, আমি একটু বেশি বাড়াবাড়ি করে ফেলছি। চলো না আমরা বাড়িতে ফিরে যাই।
তুমি কি পাগল হয়ে গেছো নি? এটাই আমার বাড়ি এখনতে।
চৌধুরী সাহেবের সাথে আমি কি কথা কইছি? তুমি কোনো কথাই কই নাই কা। সাজান তোমারে কইলো এত
দিচ্ছেন, হ্যাঁ দিচ্ছেন না? এলা বাইরন, আমার বাড়িতে বাইরন।
একটা হাসা করছেন আব্বাজান। আপনার পোলার এই বাড়ি কোনো ওই বিতলামি করলে আমি তোরা ঘাড়াই, কিন্তু ভাবলাম আপনাকে একমাত্র পোলা ঘাড়াইলে আবার দিলে চোট পাই।
দিতাছো তুমি?
শোনো, তোমাগো খানদানে যেমন কিছু নিয়ম আছে, আমাগো খানদানেও আছে।
এইসব ফাত্রা নিয়ম কেউ যেন জানবার না পারে, মনে থাকবো তো? তোর যে নতুন বাবি।
Somebody submitted a spooky story saying that the devil doesn't only live in LA, but it disguises itself in Jersey all the time. And this was her encounter with the devil. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Leanne. Leanne says that the devil might live in LA, but he visits New Jersey very often. And when he visits, he disguises himself as a Middle Eastern fat man. I'm just reading. A Middle Eastern fat man driving a Scooby-Doo looking punch buggy, going around offering people money for repentance of their sins. He said, if you ever seen the first Mummy movie, the fat Arab guy, that's what he looks like. Leanne says, honey, when I tell you he was giving away money, by the time he left the restaurant or bar, everybody would walk out with like $1,000, except for Leanne. Now, Leanne says she does Reiki and has very good discernment. She usually really good at reading and picking up energies around her. Even Leanne said Leanne could not sense him or really get a good read on him even if he's standing right in front of her. Energy as a whole felt like a black hole. Leanne says, now don't judge her, but at the time she was broke. And Leanne was literally joking about how she would do anything for a couple of dollars. That fat Middle Eastern guy appeared and offered both Leanne and her friend money. At first they were telling him no, but then the offer went from $50 to $200. Leanne's friend took the money. However, Leanne herself did not take the money because it just didn't feel right to her. So Leanne asked him, who are you? And he smiled and Leanne said, I promise you the air itself changed. He said that she was the first person to notice him. He said his name was Samuel and it sounded like a growl when he said that. He also knew deep, intimate things about Leanne and other people that he really just should not know. Anyway, as he's telling Leanne about herself, he pulls out another $100. He offers it to her. She says no, and she said, y'all, I kid you not, this sounds crazy. But after she said no to the $100 bill, it literally caught on fire. He said nothing. He then got up, got in his car, and when he drove off, he disappeared. Him and the whole entire car disappeared in thin air. And everyone who took the money, they have all had misfortunes happen to them. Even her friend, she lost her dad and her grandmother 3 months apart after that day as she took the money from Samuel. This person believes that this is the devil, and he visits New Jersey all the time. That was everything that was submitted. Thank you for submitting this spooky story. If you have a spooky story that you want me to tell, feel free to submit it to me right here via DM, either TikTok or IG, either one is fine. Make sure you're following me for more spooky story time. Like I say at the end of all of my videos, I love you, my bloody humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl.